All right, welcome back to another Japan Book Hunter, and I literally weathered the storm of Typhoon 10 to go out because today, August 30th, these dropped. Otomo the Complete Works 12, Akira 1, and 6, G. Been looking forward to these for a long time, so let's get into it and take a look inside. All right, so we have Otomo the Complete Works 6, G, and we have Otomo the Complete Works 12, Akira 1. So they're going to be rolling these out one after another, I believe. These I think were supposed to come out last year, at the end of last year, or the beginning of this year, but there were many delays. Otomo is infamous for his attention to detail, so I'm sure that he just wanted to make sure that they got these right. Let's take a look at G first, and then we'll move on to Akira. Of course, I have all of these complete works that have been released so far. I believe I calculated it once. When they all roll out, I will have spent over $1,200 on these complete works. First of all, let's take a look at the cards. So I've mentioned this before in previous Otomo videos. I've done a video on every Otomo the Complete Works, so if you want to see the insides of some of the other ones, then go back and watch those videos. Of course, you collect all of these and you get a present, you get a prize, so I am collecting them, my friends. And G consists of these stories, which let's look at the contents page. You know, I always store these like this, not like this, because these will bend, for one. And another thing, I had a couple used copies that I had found at a book fair for cheap, and I left them on the shelf in the heat while I was on vacation, and they warped badly. So keep them in a cool, dry place, my friends. East of the Sun, West of the Moon. I mean, we get all the publishing dates for everything, where it was published, of course, of Weekly Manga Action. That's where Akira was published. And Flower in a SF magazine. Sound of Sand. Yeah. Don Quixote. There's just too much to go through. Let's just go through these. What the hell was this one? Like Abunai Seito Kaicho? Something like that? So Satsujin Jiken? The A murder incident. Don Quixote, of course, was released in the fairy tale book, the big green one. I have it in my personal collection. God, I'm a little bit scattered today. We're in the middle of a typhoon. I went out and bought these. Actually, I didn't think that these would be released on time because there's been so many delays. Oh, check out that splash page. That's just amazing. You know what? Before we get started, 1979 to 1980, 79, 79, 79. 80. So all of these 79, all of these were produced 1979 to 1980. Just imagine how many pages he had to produce to make this big brick. He must have been putting out 20 pages a week for 2 years. I like the two color openings, much like they do in the manga magazines. And then it switches to black and white, pen and ink. So in previous Otomo the Complete Works videos, I've gone through every page, but because some of these stories I haven't read for so long, or some of them were released only in manga magazines, I have pretty much everything that Otomo put out, I think, in my personal collection, but some things I haven't read for years. And I'm kind of not sure about, once in a while something that YouTube doesn't like, an image will pop up now and then. I like this story. I've read this before. This is the one about the rock band that's struggling, and then their local mama at the bar, she used to be a famous singer, and they play backup band for her. And they're surprised, shocked at how many people show up and how famous she was. I have this. So the rad thing about this story, it's really psychedelic, is that it was released just as a short in a sci-fi magazine. I have that sci-fi magazine. It was maybe Manga Kiso or SF Manga. I forget, to be honest. Of course, famous Kaba image. This was originally released in Manga Kiso, Volume 7 as a sketch. And then here we're getting into some of the stuff that was in Hansel and Gretel, the big green book of fairy tales. I want to say that was released in 1981. I have that one as well. I've sold probably 20 Hansel and Gretel books since I started selling books over at JapanBookHunter.com. But they're getting hard to find these days. You know, they used to just carry them at like Mandarake on the shelf, but you know, all the tourists here in Japan. And then they started getting harder to find in the shops, and then online prices got crazy. And now that online prices are out of control, even here in Japan, it's not really worth me buying them online, so I just wait till I find one in the wild. I love panels like this. Like minimalist, yet detailed in some sort of way. I am no Ed Piskor or Jim Rugg, so I'm not going to break down all of the art. But I am a huge fan of radness, my friends. When the Saints go marching in. Ooh, nice. Little English pops up here. So, are you good at English conversation? Well, I can probably do daily conversation, but technical terms, 実は. This dude's getting hammered. And then we have part 2 with the band from New Orleans. And part 3. Oh, that must be Kaminarimon in Asakusa. Here they are in Ginza. No, it says Ginza. Part 4. I'm not trying to rush through this, but also many of you want to read this for yourself. I know a lot of these stories, you know, people are just don't have access to in the West. So kind of don't want to break down every page and spoil it for y'all. Wow, look at all that action. Really cool. Just line after line after line with the ruler. Rule? What? Also, you can imagine I want to get into Akira. G. I'm imagining he did G as a short and then later on went on to do Kibun wa mo senso. It already feels like war. Dang, look at those heads. Wild. Whoa. Gnarly. Flower. Dude, where was Flower released again? Oh, it's in the SF magazine. SF, maybe Gem? In English? Oh, amazing color pages. Well, a lot of his early works, of course, were very dramatic, Geiki ga heavy, realistic. I've mentioned this before, but he based much of his style off of Miyaya, who also drew and told stories that were very realistic in amazing detail. But yeah, this also was in manga Kiso Tengai as well. I wonder if it was a reprint there or I'm not sure. But I have that whole series. I'm looking at them right now. Let's see here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, maybe 10 volumes. And then there's also manga big collection, which I think was like 21. And Otomo contributed to both of those here and there. Cute. I need to read this. Mobius. Big jazz fan. We get this little wordless one at the end. Gobble, gobble. Looks very Mobius, right? Rad. All right. Oh, I see what they did. Jeez, I was all confused. Did they do Don Quixote from this way? They did. I was confused. I don't know why they did that, but that just confused the heck out of me. I was like, kind of what's going on here? And that, my fine friends, is Otomo the Complete Works 6G. Let's take a short break here, and then we'll move on with Akira 1. All right, now let's get into Otomo the Complete Works 12, Akira 1. But first, let's take a little trip down memory lane. I don't know why in the first part of this video I said Akira was released in Manga Action, because it was clearly released in Young Magazine. This is the Kodansha KC Deluxe Edition, and yeah, it was released right here, baby. Yes, that is the first appearance of Akira that I had framed this year. Because, of course, I've read it, and I want to keep it pristine, my friends. But, just as a little reminder, Yes, the Japanese preface is in English and Tetsuo, and the opening, Akira. Then this is Akira by Kodansha Comics, the English edition. So, of course, left to right. Tetsuo. Akira! I like the Japanese going down the middle, but it actually does block a lot of the imagery, so this isn't bad. I'm not gonna hate. I'm not gonna hate. And then later, there was this release, which is the Japanese full color version, which is based off of course, the English version. There's 6 volumes of this, and numbers 1 through 4 are actually pretty easy to find. They're around, but 5 and 6, my friends, 5 and 6. Every time I see one, I make sure to buy it and just stack it away, man, because they are hard to find, my friends. Always try to open these as carefully as possible. Woo! Exciting. First, let's get that card out. And there we go. The sticker. Must collect them all, my friends. The red looks awesome. It's a perfect color red. First 14 chapters. Kaneda on the front. Even though the opening story is Tetsuo. And for reference, for all you magazine hunters out there, they give you the dates of each Young magazine that they were published in. They were not consecutive because Young magazine is a weekly, but they were pretty consistent. There we have the Japanese intro. Wow. Akira, as printed in Young magazine, the intro. Akira, the anime, of course, was one of my gateway drugs into Japan. When I was in, early junior high, like 6th grade, I started getting into anime. Anything that you can find at a video store, our local video store. Later on, there was a Blockbuster, but even before that, there was just like I forget what it was, Premiere Video or something like that. Anything Japanese I can get my hands on, I would rent. And then later on, of course, you got Ninja Scroll, and you had many imports from Japan, but Akira was huge. And then, of course, it replayed on TV a lot later. Chapter 2. I love this color splash pages in here. About ready to get slapped in the face. Oh, punched in the face. And then later, I didn't start learning Japanese until I was 19 years old. But I grew up skateboarding with some Japanese college kids. So when I was 15, 16 years old, I was hanging out with college kids. Because when you skate, nobody cares. If you skate well and you're a cool person, nobody cares how old you are. They let you hang, the older kids, sometimes they might go buy you something that you're a little bit too young for. Because you're out there in the streets with them skateboarding. Chapter 3. And a couple of my friends, their moms would send them these just 8-hour VHSs of Japanese TV that included variety shows like tamori and stuff like that. And then warate wa ikenai, downtown, stuff like this. And sometimes there'd be some anime in there, some Ranma or some, Urusei Yatsura or whatever was on TV at the time, And I got a big dose of Japanese pop culture through those videotapes that we would just play. We're hanging out. I had this poster, which was for the theatrical release, but I sold it to the homie in America. Kind of regret doing it because I have not been able to find another since. Isoide hayaku, K. Ikuzo. It's actually a pretty, it's not, I wouldn't say easy, but for considering it's science fiction, Japanese sci-fi can get pretty difficult to read. But it's surprisingly not very accessible. Not too difficult. It's a great splash page too. Ooh, look at that. And the sewers trying to get away. And to be honest, I was starting to get a little bit bummed on this whole Complete Works thing because of the delays. And I'm like, it's going to take 10 years for them to roll all these out at this rate. But looking at this Akira one, kind of got me back into it. Classic. It is about 3 in the afternoon here in Tokyo. Typhoon 10 is here, as I mentioned earlier, and it is humid, man. And of course, I have to turn off the aircon while I'm shooting these videos. Otherwise, you get a weird hum in the background that's super annoying. The bike design is just so cool. Wow, it's so good. I love how they pull out the color here. Just explodes his head with his mind. It's rad. If you like Atsushi Kaneko Atsushi, his newest series, Evil, EVOL, like evil, about the high school supervillains. The opening of Volume 1, which has been released in English just recently. Similar scene that is amazing. Oh, it's just so good. It's the best opening of a manga I've seen in a long time. And I don't buy new manga. I buy vintage, retro stuff mostly. But Evil, I highly recommend it. But back to Akira. Just amazing ink work, so much detail. A little scratchy scratch here and scratchy scratch there on that zipatone. Wow. Another great scene, great panels. Dang, makes me want to reread. It's been a while. Okay, very 80s hairstyle for sure. There we go. Tetsuo. And that, my fine friends, is Akira 1, The Complete Works 12, and The Complete Works 6G with all those little one-shots in it. And thank you very much. Let's end it here. All right, thank you everyone for being here. And remember, go over to japanbookhunter.com. That's where I sell manga, art books, photo books, original art, genga, dolga, sells, all kinds of stuff up there right now. And again, as you know, Japan Book Hunter on all the social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, and here, like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. And until next time, my fine friends, matane.